to Birmingham for the 2011 EuroPD conference. Now you're here are some facts about Birmingham. Birmingham is Britain's second largest city. It's been made famous by its conference centres, its canals, shopping, and of course for being the home of Cadbury's chocolate. Birmingham is also easily accessible to the rest of Europe, thanks to Birmingham International Airport and due to the high network rail links to London and the rest of the UK. And most importantly, it's host to the 10th EuroPD conference.
Now we're joined by Wim van Biesen and Simon Davies to share their expectations of EuroPD 2011. What do you hope to achieve from the programme this year?
Now, as you can see from the title, it's from fundamental to clinical research and science. So we want to start from fundamental basic science, not only the real basic rat and cell stuff, but also the real basic clinical knowledge on how to perform peritoneal dialysis, how to transmit that to your patients. I think this is the main cornerstone of the treatment. But of course, there is more. Once you've got that basic skills, you want to go more into depth, and you would like to wonder, is there any evidence why this fundamental science, what we found in the lab, what we found in animal models, can be translated to the clinical practice? And of course, if you look on it from the patient perspective, you have to be persuaded that this treatment changes, which is most of the time more laborious and more restrictions, is really going to impact on your life. So we have in the opening session, for example, the Ritz lecture on what does it all mean, how far should we go, how strict, how tight should your glucose be, your tension control be, etc. For patients, this is fundamental, because if we want to improve their quality of life, we should not only be on the numerous facts of what we know from the basics, but also on their quality of life, and be sure that this will impact on how they will survive and their quality of life.
Simon, as the president of the conference, you were involved in setting the structure and content of this year's EuroPD programme. What do you think will be the highlights of this, the 10th EuroPD conference?
Well, there's many things, of course, to look forward to, but I think probably for me the session I'm most looking forward to is the session when we're looking at innovative practice in PD. And that's particularly attractive to me because it's a multidisciplinary session. So we have the speakers include not just doctors, but there's a nurse talking about PD catheter insertions. We have a clinical psychologist from Leeds talking about how patients can make decisions about what dialysis modality they use and how to create a patient decision aid. And we're also hearing from another important study called the BOLD study, which will be presented, in fact, by a research dietitian who's done this work. And I think that's going to be a really exciting session. Looking forward to that very much. Other things, well, I think we've, as usual, tried to make sure that there's a strong blend of basic science in the programme and at the same time clinically relevant work. So hopefully the delegates will see that there's a strong link between the research that's being done in the basic science area and the clinical outcomes that come from that.
Wim, you conceived the masterclass concept for EuroPD. Can you explain how it's different from the rest of the programme?
Right. So the masterclass fit in the same project, that we see that some people are coming here for just the basic science, some people are coming just to achieve the basic clinical skills and to talk about that among their peers, but there is a subgroup of people who want to go more into depth, more into detail, and who want to really discuss and get to know all these details. And on top of that, it's important that the research in PD is structured, that people who have in the same interest, who are in the same area of expertise, that they can meet each other, that they can exchange ideas, and that from that we can start with new questions. And of course, if we have new questions, we will find new answers to improve in general PD knowledge and evidence in PD.
Simon, there's a particular focus on EPS at EuroPD this year. Perhaps you can tell us what the UK EPS registry is all about.
Well, really, the UK EPS registry is something that's developing into a much bigger thing now. It is actually going Europe-wide, and that's, of course, very appropriate to be talking about that at the EuroPD meeting. So what we've learned about EPS, which is a rare condition, fortunately, is that we've really got to work together. Even one nation can't answer the problems. So, for example, at this conference, you're going to see the launch of the European EPS registry. I think that's on Sunday at about 11:30. And we're going to hear how everyone in Europe can engage in that process by registering cases through a central website. And that will feed in a much broader understanding of the problem from a clinical perspective, how we diagnose it, what the outcomes are, and will provide us with the clinical material which we can then take back to the laboratory and start to really understand the basic abnormalities that lead to this particular problem. So there's a basic science session on the last day where we're looking at new techniques in the laboratory, metabolomics, proteomics, which help us to investigate the abnormalities in the PD fluid that might lead us to suspect EPS in a patient, and then hopefully prevent that from happening in that individual.